So I've entered a 48-hour endurance race. What? Who does that? Well, I do. And today I'm going to tell you why and how it all started. I'm going to tell you about how my training week has been going. And then I'm going to tell you as a bonus something about my unorthodox training philosophy. Now, if we haven't met, I'm Tony Johnson of All Things J. And so I hope to inspire you and motivate you to take those micro adventures, those trips that are close to home. I'm not going to Nepal and I'm not going to climb Mount Everest, and you're probably not either. And so take those trips close to home, get out and try something adventurous, but they don't all have to be a trip. Today, they're going to be of a personal nature, like maybe entering a 5K or 10K. For me, it's trying to gain that 100-mile distance in a 48-hour endurance race. So let's go inside and learn more about what it takes to become an endurance runner. Now, it's not going to be what you think, so let's go. Well, all right, we meet again. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how in the world did you get involved in endurance racing? And it actually happened by accident. I know, crazy stuff, right? Well, as it turns out, I was once a competitive power lifter. In fact, I've got one of my totals where I set a state record put in Powerlifting USA magazine. And that was an awesome experience. But the problem is, when you start powerlifting at an early age, then you're going to have back issues. And so I was having all kind of back issues. In fact, I had had back surgery early in college and continued to powerlift after that. But eventually it just got old. And so one day, literally one day I'm sitting, well, actually, in good man style, I'm laying on the couch. And I just have this competitive nature about me, and I couldn't stand not competing in something. And so I began to reminisce to my glory days, and I remember I used to be really, really fast. The problem was, as I was reminiscing, is that I'm in my 40s, late 40s, and I'm reminiscing about what it was like when I was in 3rd grade, because that was the last time I remember being fast. And so I decided to get up that day and put on my shoes and go outside and see if I could run a mile. Just 1 mile. And I failed miserably. It was horrendous. My ego was shot. I thought I was in good shape, and I just wasn't. And so the next day, in my competitive nature, I tried to go out and do just 2 or 3 steps farther. I marked off an area in my neighborhood, and I would literally mark it with a rock or something to say, that's where I finished, until eventually I started building up my miles. Well, at that point, I thought, this is a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work if I'm not going to get some kind of other enjoyment out of it. So, as usual, competitive nature, I started entering races. But I entered in a kind of a weird way. I did like I think it was a 5K, which is 3 miles. And then the next race that I ran was an ultra, which means it's over 30 miles. And so I ran a race called the Dizzy 50s, and it's a trail race with a lot of elevation. Awesome race. Finished okay. And then my next race, I ran the Rocket City Marathon, a 26-miler on pavement. And then for some reason, the bug just got me. And I'm one of those weird people that, for whatever reason, honestly, running hurts and it's about suffering, but for some reason I got addicted to it. And so it is that I realized that as I got older, that these shorter races, I've mentioned in some other episodes, the shorter races are a lot about speed. When the endurance races, when you get into 24 hours or 48 hours, it's a lot about strategy. You can't run too fast and you can't walk too slow. Remember, that's the dirty little secret of ultra running. We do walk. And so I've only been running about, maybe 7 years, which isn't very long for most runners. And here's my problem. I've got many, but my problem is this, is that I tend to weigh about 220 pounds. And whenever I go to a race, it's like a skinny convention has broken out. For the love, big guys, please start racing. You can do it, because if I can do it, I guarantee it, you can do it too. And it all started with me just getting off the couch, literally, and going out to see if I could run just 1 mile. And then after I started doing the 30 miles, I wondered what it would be like, because this is the way it always works, right? You've got to run a little bit farther. Why? I don't know, because it's there. And so I decided to enter a 12-hour race. And in that 12 hours, I was able to run 50 miles. And I thought, well, if I can run 50 miles, I wonder what it would be like to run in a 24-hour race. And you see where it goes. You see where it goes. It's crazy stuff. I can't tell you exactly why I do it. It hurts really bad, but I do love the results. And that's why this is such a great micro adventure for me, is because it's just something that keeps me in shape. And some people will argue that long distance races are rough on the body. And when you're out there, you are right. They are rough on the body. And so what about my training week? My training week this week, it went fairly well. I think I'm going to get in probably close to 30 plus miles. I could be off a little bit on that. By the way, if you're not following me on Strava, it's allthingstonyj on Strava. And right now I'm running mostly in the mornings. And the weather this week was fantastic. And I still subscribe to that one long day. And so I'll usually get out and run 5 to 7 miles in the morning, because if I don't run in the morning, you can sit there and fantasize and think that it's going to happen in the afternoon. But I found running in the mornings is the best time. Now, something else that you've got to do now as I move into my training philosophy that's really unorthodox is that I'm typically a hybrid runner. And that means that I lift weights. I still do some powerlifting type exercises. I still do some hex bar deadlifts and sit-ups and things of that nature, because I think in running the core is what you've got to really watch out for. Get a strong core, and I think later in those races, early morning hours, it tends to pay off. Now, something else that I also do whenever I'm training is that I believe in running as long as it's fun. I mean, literally, and this is what's unorthodox about what I do, I don't necessarily have a goal in mileage when I go out. I go out, and if I get in the groove, I'll run a long ways that day. If I get out for 3 to 4 miles and I'm not feeling it, I shut it down. Because I think just for me, I like to run as long as it's fun. But then there are some days, the long days, I believe in long days, low mileage, long runs. And so on my long run, I'll usually hit 20 miles. And that one, I usually am going to do whether it's fun or not. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea about what I do, how I do it, some of my unorthodox training philosophy. But I want to encourage you to get out there and do something. Do something as a micro adventure that's of a personal nature where you can get out and run and do something. Now, I got a little, I don't know if it's bad news or not, about my ultra that I'm about to enter, the 48-hour race. They let me know that they're not sure if the race is on or not, but here's the kicker. They're not going to let me know until about 4 days before the race. And so quite honestly, you've got to be a great motivator of one's self. So I've got to motivate myself, because I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I've got to keep training as though it is, because I'm only going to have a few days notice if it's not. I hope it works out, but I'm going to continue to train. And in fact, next week, I'm going to catch you up, because I want you to subscribe to my channel, hit those likes. Also, I want to encourage you, would you please share this stuff if you find it of value on your social media? I'm trying to gain subscribers and really promote the idea of micro adventures. And not only that, the next episode, I'm going to tell you the 3 race day showstoppers and how to avoid them. The 3 race day showstoppers. That means you could have had the greatest training that you've ever had, and you can show up and these things can happen, and it's going to shut you down, and it's going to leave you packing, going to the car, cutting on the air conditioner. So once again, Tony Johnson, All Things Tony J. Go hit that subscribe button, share everything on social media, help me out, and I can't wait to see you next time when I answer those questions. What are, because I'm glad you asked, the 3 showstoppers?